Hello, greetings live from Chicago inside the United Center. Brian Henson, Chloe Peterson here with you. I'd like to open the show with the elephant in the room and apologize personally to Dustin Topriak. We tried to sit inside the arena for this one, just like last week, but unfortunately, it's being broken down.
We failed you, Dustin.
Yeah,
I'm
the
sorry.
stands were pushed in. I wanted to climb, Chloe didn't. So efforts were made. It just didn't work out. Chloe, let's dive right into the game. Fever win 93-78. Kelsey Mitchell goes for 35 points, threw out for a career high, fifth 35-point performance in franchise history. Michaela Timson, 14 points, a great performance by the rookie. You also get 10 points from Ari McDonald, 14 from Aaliyah Boston. I didn't even realize Aaliyah Boston had 14, just a very workmanlike performance from her. That's one headline. The other headline, obviously, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese both out. But let's start with Kelsey Mitchell, and I will let you decide what angle we take with Kelsey, because there's a lot to unpack from such a prolific performance.
Yeah, she had a really good game. She had 13 points in the first quarter, tied the Sky, basically, who also had 13 points in the first quarter. And then she basically was the one that single-handedly stopped the Fever from having one of their, what has become, unfortunately for them, a seemingly classic second-half meltdown. She prevented that today with the first 10 points in the third quarter all coming from her. And then she had 15 points in the third quarter, but that also came after she seemed to suffer a little bit of a groin injury. It didn't seem like, obviously, it was too big of an issue. It came with about 2.5 minutes left in the second quarter, where she went up for a layup and then kind of got hit in that groin area, fell, and then she was, visibly uncomfortable after that play, stayed in for about 10 more seconds, and then subbed out for the rest of that half. But she did some stretches on the sideline, stayed on the bench for the rest of the half, and then came out and started the second half as normal. There were a couple times throughout the second half that she looked a little uncomfortable, a little grimacing, but obviously she played very well, so it didn't seem to affect her too much.
We'll have a couple clips to show you here in a bit, but one of those incidents that you mentioned in the second half when she was grimacing, there was a play on the opposite baseline where she bounced off a defender, and you could kind of see it coming. You could see the collision coming. She hits her, and she kind of spins around, and then she gets up, and she's grabbing at that right groin. And again, that was not unlike the one at the end of the first half where you're just kind of like, oh, God, and you kind of hold your breath a little bit. But like you said, she came back. She was okay. She came into the press conference, and this is easier to explain, obviously, on video than it is on Twitter, but she had ice wrapped on both of her knees, but that's common for her after games.
Yeah, that's something I've seen almost every time she's come to the podium after games. It is something, she talked about. She's getting old. She's, 28, 29. So it's just something that's normal for her too. And she talked about, maybe she shouldn't go up against 6'7", 6'8" players like Camila Cardoso all the time, but that's just who she is as a player. And she's going to get a little sore, get a little banged up, especially in games like these with great rebounding teams, great physical teams like Sky.
Chloe does a perfect job there of setting up the audio. We have Kelsey Mitchell following that game tonight.
Half where it looked like he bounced off a defender and fell down, came up a little sore, I guess. What happened on that play, and did it kind of linger through the game?
I think it's just, like I said, it comes with the territory. You're just trying to go in there with 6'7", 6'8". Maybe I should make some different decisions going forward. But I think, I don't know, man. I'm a competitor. You roll off your shoulder if you really want to play. And so it was a small hiccup, but I don't think it's nothing that, I want to hinder me going forward.
Because the season's going.
Kelsey Mitchell there after the game, she kind of played off as not a joke, but she seems okay.
Yeah.
Which is important.
Yeah, she seems like she's going to be fine. This happens to every player, every game. They roll their ankles, they get hit, they get bruises. It's just how it works. It's just the way of the game.
We have one more audio clip, and I just want to get to this one. Stephanie White was asked about it, about Kelsey's status, and she took the approach of the injury because no fouls were called on the play, specifically at the end of the first half, and I think there was actually at the end of the second half, but the first half one that Chloe mentioned was not called.
Talked about briefly, but just any concerns with her health during that game? Looked like she got a little banged up there.
Not yet. Obviously there were concerns when it happened. Sometimes protecting airborne shooters and making sure that freedom of movement, all that stuff is so important. So there's concerns while that's going on. Obviously there's going to be concerns about her recovery, but not as far as anything acute that I know of. But we haven't really had that conversation yet.
The one at the end of the first half, was that a contact injury? Did she just bounce off and land the wrong way?
Is that the one where she was kind of holding her groin?
Yeah.
No, that was a contact injury. Yeah.
Stephanie White again highlighting officiating. It's always an adventure with the WNBA, which is fun and exciting. But no, great performance from Kelsey Mitchell. I have a story tonight talking about her and her football training. Dove into that a little bit with her after practice. So kind of fun and how she approached the offseason and how that's kind of helped her improve her footwork and things like that. I know they mentioned that during the New York game, so it was fun diving into that with her. Chloe, another angle to this game that I wanted to get to before I let you kind of take the reins and decide where we go from there is the way that they closed out. I mean, that was a 2-point game in the third quarter. And I think you and I were talking, you mentioned, like you said earlier, this is kind of a trademark Fever thing. They're game over 500. It's about to unravel. Here we go again. And instead, it was a little bit of a one-woman effort with Kelsey Mitchell doing it, but it all counts the same. They found a way to get it done. The defense buckled down. They got out of the haze. I think Steph White describes it as them kind of losing themselves offensively. They kind of found themselves. Defense was really good, and they found a way to close the door on a team that's really, really desperate for a win and some positive momentum.
Yeah, I think obviously you said it. They've had issues with unraveling at times before this season, even against not so good teams, like when they unraveled against Los Angeles earlier this month. Golden State, Las Vegas, when they were on that road trip in late June, were all games that they had significant leads and then just fell apart in the second half. So it was really encouraging for them to see that, that can happen. They got down to a 2-point lead and then they built it back up again to that 15 points or that 15-point win, like behind Mitchell. So it's a step in the good direction for them, I think. And, they always talk about stacking days and being consistent. And I'm sure they hope that that will continue to be a consistent thing.
Should talk about Michaela Timson, who was phenomenal. 14 points for the rookie, plus 23 rating. And then as our editor, Matt Gleness, points out, second highest rating on the team behind only Kelsey Mitchell, who scored 35 points. So that's obviously really impressive. Also had 4 rebounds, an assist, and 3 steals. What do you think of the Rook today?
Yeah, it was a career high points, career high minutes. She 6 of 8 from the field, and she was really good defensively too, as she has been. And I think she just continues to show that versatility defensively, and then her offensive game is coming along as well. And I think she's really won the trust of the Fever coaching staff. She first was the one rookie that made it through training camp and onto the main roster, and then she had some DMP coaches' decisions at the beginning of the season, didn't play as much, and then kind of when Damiris Dantas left for America, that's when she got her chance to kind of break into the rotation, and she really made the most of that to the point where she's getting these significant minutes, and Dantas is kind of falling out of the rotation a little bit.
And you asked the question too. I mean, tonight she played over Natasha Howard, and that's, as Steph White alluded to in her response, it's a benefit of the depth that this group has.
Yeah, I think especially with Timson and then Chloe Bibby kind of coming onto this team too, they have a lot of depth at that forward position, and I think Chloe Bibby and Michaela Timson, they bring more of that stretch 4, versatility that they want when the Fever want to play fast. And then, Damiris Dantas, Natasha Howard, they're more traditional front court players. So it kind of just depends on the way they want to play. The way they want to play defensively too, and that they really have that versatility to switch in between with all that depth.
Chloe Bibby, thoughts on her initial performance today?
I thought she came in really well. Knocked down that 3-pointer right as she came in, had no fear knocking down another 3-pointer over Camila Cardoso. They signed her for a reason. She is that stretch 4 that they want to play fast, and she showed that in her 11 minutes today.
And it's unique too, as Stephanie I mentioned, is that they can play a little bit smaller, or they like to play smaller, but with her out there and her ability to stretch the floor, they don't have to go as small, which is a perk. I'm really interested to see how her role evolves and if she's able to stick beyond this initial 7 days. So looking ahead by the way, 19,601 the announced attendance, a sellout, and being in the building. I mean, that felt and looked like a genuine, sellout, damn near a genuine sellout, which is always really cool to witness with women's basketball. Looking ahead now for the Fever, it's the Phoenix Suns. I almost called them Coyotes.
Phoenix Mercury.
Oh, it's 1 for 0 for 3 there. So the team from Arizona is coming to Indianapolis this week. Couple of days off the return for DeWanna Bonner. What else are you going to be watching for, Chloe, as I put you on the spot beautifully?
I think this is the first time they're playing the Mercury this season, which I can talk about the quirks of WNBA scheduling, where they already played Atlanta 4 times, they've played New York 4 times, and they still haven't seen Phoenix, and if they hadn't played Minnesota in the Commissioner's Cup, they wouldn't have seen Minnesota yet either. So
Technically, they haven't.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's a different conversation. But I think this will be a good test for Indiana because obviously Phoenix is, I believe, 15-9, and Kelsey even said it today after in the post game, like if they want to be like the Phoenixes, like the New Yorks, those contender teams this season, they want to be consistent in the second half. And she was answering a question about the, not falling apart in the second half and being able to rebound. But I think it'll be a good test for them to see where they stack up against, a contender team like Phoenix. And obviously they struggled against New York this season and they haven't seen Minnesota officially yet. So it'll be a good test for them.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Chloe made it 11 minutes. It's a new record for us. I think that was a great show. Second best background of the run. We thank you all so much for watching. We'll both be back in a reporter's capacity. I'm not sure about video on Wednesday, and then Chloe hits the road for out west. So thank you all so much for watching. We'll talk to you again soon.